Thank you very much, Jenna. Today, our community spotlight shines on the Mennonite Central Committee. And here with a look at how MCC helps locally and internationally. We've got the Executive Director, Ron Janzen. Ron, you guys have a massive undertaking when it comes to what you guys do. How do you describe to people when you bump into them in the street? What does MCC do?
MCC is working in many countries around the world. We work both locally and overseas. We work in three broad areas of relief, development, and peace work.
Okay, so when relief, that's really quite simple. When the worst happens, natural disasters hit, you guys are on the ground there. How do you assist people when there's tornadoes, hurricanes, that kind of thing?
What we do is we have an infrastructure of material resources where we can ship goods overseas. We also work with partners around the world, and we respond with financial gifts and support. We are presently working this year. A lot of our efforts have been in Syria and in the Sahel region of Africa, where there was drought, and the conflict in Syria has now reached a point where we've responded with about $4.5 million of support through the Canadian Food Grains Bank, through material aid, and through cash gifts, relief kits and hygiene kits, working with people who've been displaced in the country.
As if that wasn't a daunting a task enough, you also work with economic development. How are you guys trying to help there?
Right, what often happens is MCC's presence in a country will begin with disaster relief, but we tend to stay for the long term and work at the ongoing development issues. So we may begin with a crisis, a natural disaster event, and then we'll work in development areas after that. Often it's sustainable agriculture or health or education.
Right.
Very fundamental restructuring issues that help countries recover and help them go back to a place of community development, stability, education systems, and so on.
Sounds like a long way of saying the give a man a fish, teach a man to fish idea.
Right, yes.
And last but not least, you're also trying to work with to battle injustice, not only here but also abroad. Again, that is a huge daunting task. How does MCC help with things like that?
Our work in peacebuilding efforts is often focused on conflict, mediation, resolution, restorative justice issues. In Manitoba, for instance, we do work with the prison system. We're working with prisoners and ex-offenders, helping them to reintegrate back into the community. We put circles of support and accountability around them, so we'll walk beside people, helping them to rebuild life skills, to enter into relationships. In countries overseas, we've worked at mediation and conflict resolution. So we have people trained in the abilities of conflict mediation. They'll bring different groups together, helping them to understand each other, appreciate each other's perspectives and cultures, and helping them to bridge some of the terrible tragedies that have driven wedges between them.
That is, any one of those is a huge task for any organization. I'm going to quickly ask you if you can, why? Why you and MCC? Why does this organization matter so much to you?
From the beginnings of MCC in the 1920s, when we first put MCC together, it was the Mennonite community responding to a tragedy of war and famine in South Russia and the Ukraine.
Right.
From that until today, when we're responding to Syria, what you need to understand about MCC is that it's not fundamentally an organization. MCC is a movement. It's a movement of people who are expressing their values. They are living out their faith. They are Jesus followers, and what they are wanting to do is express their values back to the community. They believe that the expression of that faith is an expression of love. And through that love, they are bound by a system of values that leads them to engagement with the community. So this has been the steady feature through the whole 90 years of MCC. It's what's helped us to expand our program so broadly. Even though the financial gifts are huge to MCC and allow us to do this work, what's even more important is the engagement of people. There are tens of thousands of volunteers across North America and around the world that make the work of MCC happen.
And I think a lot of people will be very happy to learn through today as we spend a little more time with MCC talking about how you guys are putting real effort, real work, and real positiveness behind your faith. There's something behind that. So we're going to discuss that a little more. Also talk about that idea of restorative justice. We've got that and more coming up today in our Community Spotlight.
Give a little time to me. We'll burn this out. We'll play hide and seek to turn this around. All I want is the taste